I love all the birds in your background there.
I got that's George. He's the crow. He's pretty spoiled. He gets lots of treats.
Okay, all right. So, I'm pretty sure we're already on here live now. So,
I see us. Yeah.
good. Yay. Okay. All right. So, once again, it's Friday, June 5th, and we are doing our open house with Team Reba live on Facebook as we've kind of adjusted, but we still have our regular radio show every week. But I'm Reba Haas of Team Reba, Remax Metro East Side, and I got this guy over here with me in the outdoors.
Good afternoon, Eric Aasness with Homebridge Financial Home Mortgage.
All right. So before we got on, you were saying, so of course, what we've been doing on these Facebook Lives is giving kind of live streaming information about real estate and mortgage. And we're soon to be bringing more guests on. I know you've got a bankruptcy attorney that we're going to have on soon. And then we're also doing some other outreach to other speakers, both for our radio programming as well as here on Facebook Live, that we think are going to be relevant details for people. But today we're going to be mostly talking about just kind of real estate and mortgage side of things. So you mentioned before we got on, Eric, that there's a little bit of upward pressure going on with rates. So how about we get started with you?
Just a little bit this morning. What's that Chicago song? Baby, what a big surprise. We had some big surprises this morning with the jobs report. We were expecting somewhere around 7.7 million people losing their jobs. Instead, we were up 2.5 million new, basically jobs created. We're way up. And actually, if you factor in households employment, it's actually up over 3 million jobs created last week. So, this is a clear sign that as many of our economies are reemerging, and businesses are reopening, we're seeing those jobs numbers looking much better than what we were expecting. Unemployment rate as well. We were forecasting up to 20% unemployment. Actually dropped this week down to 13.3%. We were a little bit over 14% last week. So numbers are finally starting to look much better. And the old mantra in finance is, at least with the bond market, is bad news is good and good news is bad. So when we get good news, that can cause a little bit of upward pressure on interest rates. Not the end of the world, certainly. We're still sitting pretty awesome, but the 30-year fixed rate conventional mortgage national average right now is sitting at 3.375%, up about 1/8% from where we were a week ago. Jumbo rates almost unchanged, 3.875. And that's without paying any points. If you want to pay a point, that jumps clear down to about 3.25. So the jumbos are kind of hanging in there. We may see those rates actually start to improve over the next couple of weeks as more jumbo investors re-enter the marketplace. Many jumbo investors suspended their operations due to COVID, and they're slowly starting to trickle back into the market. FHA VA looking good, 2.875. So up about 1/8% from a week ago, but certainly not the end of the world. So everything's still hanging in there. The bond market today started off pretty negative with those jobs reports, meaning a lot of upward pressure on rates. They settled down this afternoon. So they're holding their own right now, which is good news for interest rates. We're not seeing expecting anything crazy to happen here over the next few weeks and looking forward.
So I have a question for you, and I know you're not going to necessarily, it's going to be totally just you having a crystal ball, AKA a magic 8-ball kind of thing. There's a bunch of people still talking right now that they think in the fall, or that like the next thing that's coming though is a wave of middle management layoffs. Mm-hmm. What are you hearing kind of in the lending world, in the finance world because obviously this report being a surprise for some folks, do you think that they're going to revise that concern? Because for me, I'll just say, like, when I hear that jumbo is starting to settle down and people might be coming back in, I think it's because they're looking at where those jobs are And perhaps maybe thinking that the people who would afford those jumbo loans are a little more safe than expected.
Mhm. I'm inclined to agree with that. And the thing about economic statistics is that for each good one you find, you can probably find a bad one to counteract it.
On the other hand,
So
yeah,
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's why even on our radio show, I think we have coming up, I'll be talking about instead of looking at a V-shaped recovery, we're going to see a swoop. So
a
a
swoosh, I
swoop,
think is what you
a
called it, a
swoosh, a
swoosh.
swoosh. Yeah, it looks like more like a Nike.
Think of referring to the Portland company
Eh,
that utilizes that design.
don't know who you're talking about, but anyway, yeah, no. So we're anticipating there's still going to be some fallout from this, of course, but that the recovery will hopefully be a little bit better than the worst case scenarios have been forecasting and predicting, and yeah, there'll be changes. I think that's the changes you're referring to are going to vary company to company. You know, manufacturing still has a long ways to go. You know, the hospitality industry is probably a big chunk of the the good numbers we got out last for last week. So we'll see what happens here over the course of the next couple of weeks as more businesses reopen and hopefully more manufacturing. You know, we really need that.
Yeah, I know I was reading some articles earlier today on the commercial sector that were discussing, how a lot of the large investors in a lot of these major transactions, at least locally, had kind of held off, like many people have the last several weeks, right? Because we have fight, flight, or freeze, and a lot of them were like, "Oh, we're not gonna make any fast adjustments, but we are just gonna stop where we're at." But there's a ton of money sitting out there waiting to still get invested in commercial real estate, but it's yet to be seen what will happen, right? Because we still have tons and tons of underway projects in both downtown Seattle and Bellevue and many other cities that had, during this economic recovery that we'd had for such a enormously long time. Reminding people that we had a much longer recovery cycle than we've ever seen, in terms of like really good times of, just overall business in general
Right.
across most of the United States. So this is, it's a weird way to get an economic adjustment, but they are now looking at commercial spaces of, well, if this is going to change how people work, what are they going to do with all that square footage? And there are some estimates that they're already seeing some, price reductions in how much it costs to be in a downtown Bellevue location and things like that. However, they'd also been at extreme highs.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's maybe not so great for the developers, but at least the businesses who house those spaces, it's going to give them a little bit of relief, hopefully, over time. But I guess it depends on, if you're under a lease agreement right now or not, or if you own that building, what have you.
That's
But
right. And companies expanding, maybe they'll kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit for that. And
yeah,
that affects not only our commercial, space, but all the ancillary businesses that go along with that. And if you think about all the durable goods and everything else that's required to outfit a building, we're touching a lot of different sectors of the economy. It's a big deal.
yeah. And speaking of touching, a lot of those designs that are out there right now are being looked at again. And then, of course, even buildings that are older, um, they're looking at as many like no touch solutions as possible for how to run these buildings or how to be existing in the buildings, right? Because they are trying to minimize the amount of people, touching all the same things, and because it's quite a big thing to be sanitizing every light switch and door handle and every other thing that we get into, and elevator buttons and all the stuff, right? As you and I both experienced when we went to go record the show this week, walking into the building where Salem Media Studios is at, it was like, what's all that? I was like, oh, they're setting up the where to stand while you're waiting for the elevator.
All the stickers on the floors, just like
Yeah.
at the
Yeah, please stand here.
cash registers.
Yeah.
I love the no touch checkouts where you I do Apple Pay. But so I hold my phone in front of the thing and it beeps, but then I still got to press, do I want cash back? No, I got to press a button. What's my PIN code? Yeah, I got to press 4 more buttons. Got to press the enter button. It's like, it's not really no touch. We got a little bit of work to do on that whole no touch thing.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if we can ever really get to completely all of that unless they get really, really good at voice recognition software. But,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, and we all know how good those are sometimes on our phones where it's like, no, that's not what I said.
Amazon's got those stores where you just grab what you want and walk out the door. Oh, wait, that's called looting. Never mind.
Funny. You know what, though? You bring up a point that I have with sort of that, and then having been paying more attention, of course, when I'm at the store. When it comes to produce, because I don't buy a lot of the box stuff, um, I don't buy in the center of the store. I'm usually like the, around the edge type stuff. But I will say, no matter what, I've been watching people and their behaviors, and it's funny because you see, like, you go to the produce, and there was a woman touching every tomato
Yeah.
to, and you know what she's doing. She's testing it for firmness and what level, like, is it overripe? Is too ripe? Is it And I get you see, I'm like, you're touching everything. And then, and then I saw somebody else the other day grab, like, just, you have those salad bins, like they're plastic containers with the salad inside. And I don't know why this person did this, but they took off the one that was in the front and grabbed one in the back and then shoved the other one. And I'm like, what was the point of that?
You wanted a fresher one. I struggle with the bags.
Hey, like, what the hell?
How do you get the bags open? You used to like lick your finger or whatever. You can't do that anymore.
I know. I actually do that. And then, but I got to say, I have changed my behavior when I'm at the store, and I eyeball whatever's sitting there.
Yeah.
And just go, okay, I'm only going to take like this bunch of cilantro, or I'm only going to take this bunch.
Same here. Yeah. Yeah.
And just be like, you know what? I don't want people touching all that stuff.
I'll wait till this fall when the ears of corn come in. Everybody's.
Oh, I've already seen it. I was at a store the other day, and people were like, what are you doing? And they were like putting them back. I was like, I mean, I know you're supposed to wash your produce and everything anyway, but still, like, ew. It's just, yeah. Anyway, totally getting off topic, but it's going to be very interesting to watch how all these things play out and how the buildings change. And there's a lot of discussion in the commercial sector too now of if we're going to, I find this interesting. Think of all the tech companies that for a while were saying you needed less and less space in which to do your job, which actually studies more recently have actually been proving that actually doesn't work. It's a horrible model. And
Right.
And now, because I have friends of mine at all these tech companies, Expedia, Amazon, what have you, and a lot of them are in what we used to always call bullpen environments. And you literally only have like a 2 or 3 foot desk right next to, lots of people who are adjacent to you, right? And the idea of it, I think, was originally that they wanted like collaboration.
Right.
Actually increases the number of interruptions, so people can't stay focused on their work. And now that we have this, we can't all be like close together, we're going back to the old style, right? So, but there's also like, okay, well, if now I need more board feet to house people in this location, I think companies like Amazon, maybe, this is just conjecture, obviously, if they are going to have a location for people to go to, I keep thinking about how the trends have been of where their employees have been buying, depending on what stage of life they're in. And I'm curious to see whether or not we'll see more like low mid-rise out in suburbs to accommodate a location where now they don't have to do as much of transportation, but go to where their employees actually are.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Probably right about that.
And we see this changing in corporate structure all the time in their commercial. Because I remember back when I was still doing manufacturing components, the company I worked for at the time had distributed like satellite offices and then like one main office in each state. And then they decided, no, we don't need to have all that. We're going to consolidate. And now we'll just have one location that we're going to go to. And then they went back to like, oh, well, no, wait, now we've changed our minds. And everything kind of goes through different kinds of cycles. So I'll be curious to see If indeed, though, it maybe helps boost some of those, outer lying areas and suburban areas. And you and I have even talked about this, Eric, of the concept of for all those people who can do remote work. I mean, I started thinking about this several years ago when my ex-husband and I were considering retiring or partial retirement to Panama. And we were talking to folks who were helping manage properties down there that were from other parts of the world and not Panamanian. And, they were calling themselves, and we still do now, digital nomads. Because if you can take, I'm talking to a friend of mine right now who runs a big company, and he's like, I can I can go anywhere. Like I really don't actually have to stay here if I don't want to. And we're rethinking everything about our space. However, that same person also showed me the amount of networking power, power requirements, cooling requirements to run their systems.
Mhm.
So
Right.
now you have a bunch of other considerations, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
so I'll be just very curious to see it all. And I know I'm just kind of rambling on a little bit about this, but I think for the people who might be watching and listening to what you and I are discussing, they're going to realize like everyone thinks that real estate, like screw HGTV. This is the kind of stuff we really like to talk about, or pardon me, you and I like to talk about in real estate. So, maybe what we do is we get somebody who's in that commercial sector looking at those things. Because remember on our show, we had the folks from South Seattle College and how their programs training the people who run the buildings. Like that's probably going to have an upgrade to what they're teaching there because they're already having to be fairly high tech
Oh,
because of the new systems that are inside of buildings.
yep.
Maybe even like McKinstry would be.
Everything's going to change. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Well, I'm going to invite anyone who watches this because I'm pretty sure Jonathan Frizell is going to be in here somewhere at some point. And if there are topics that you want us to cover, questions that you have for us, definitely you can reach out. I haven't run over the numbers real quick on the real estate side of things, but I just want to remind people I'm Reba at teamreba.com. You can send comments, questions, anything, concerns, anything you want to talk about with me. And my phone number is 206-910-3429, which I remembered this time. Eric, do you want to give yours real quick and then I'll do mine?
206-915-3742. That's 915 Eric. And you can email me anytime too, eric@ericasmybanker.com.
Okay, awesome. And I'm just real quickly, just because we have been talking about this, I'm going to do some comparisons. I'm going to do a share screen real quick over to the Northwest Multiple. So again, we've been kind of keeping an eye on this market watch area right over here. So we can see new listings are up significantly. You'd like to see this, Eric. And so with the buyers, last week we did this, we had 1,724. And this time we are at 2,370 for the week total. So we've gone up a fair amount there. Back on market, 315. So that's again, also up because we were at 275 last time we did this. Listing price reduced has gone to 860. So again, that number continues to increase, but so does the price increases. We're now at 219. And last week it was at 149. Pending, we're seeing 3756. That's gone up even just today. Last week is at 3,466. And for the number of solds is 2,030. And compare that, this goes exactly to what I told you was going to happen, Eric. Last week it was 1,452. So what we're seeing now is that volume of once we finally were able to start showing property again, coming into the closings.
Yeah, it's taken off, and boy, I don't think that's going to slow down either in the near future. It's pretty.
It's very active, very, very active. Yeah, we've got some new listings coming up. We've got one in Port Orchard that's going to be on next week. And anyone who needs a 5-car garage, let me know. And then we also have other listings coming in and like Columbia City and Boulevard Park and that kind of thing. So lots of good stuff going on. What we're showing here though is if you're a seller, this pending number should still show you there's plenty of people out there looking, because a lot of those deals that went pending, probably like as we've seen, at least a good 20% of that probably had multiple offers on it. And we continue to see that in the marketplace, and they're going above asking price. So we just got done closing our Bothell listing that was an estate sale. We had multiple offers on it. It went for over asking price. They didn't even do escalations. They just did highest and best on their own. And that was fantastic. And they also did pre-inspections. So that took out part of the concern and worry for the estate up front of, you know, canceling based on that. Cause that's what a lot of these back on markets can be, is a deal that fell apart. And then, or someone who did work and then brought it back on, that kind of thing. But a lot of good activity going on. So sellers can still feel confident as long as they're, you know, making a compelling product for the market, meaning your pricing, your condition, or, you know, is everything's in good place. And if it's not in great condition, just make sure you price appropriately. Don't expect to get top dollar when you're not going to, you know, prepare everything the way that, you know, a typical buyer, 90% of these buyers or more are looking, you know, for move-in ready. So just be aware of that. And then, you know, buyer side, you can see we have more stuff coming on the market. This is the busiest time of the year in terms of listings coming on. So, you know, just be diligent. And if I could just say one thing, because I know, Eric, you and I have a couple of joint customers that they'll wait to ask me about a property till it's like 5 days on the market. I know they got the notice the day it came on, but they wait 4 or 5 days. And then by the time they ask me about it and maybe want to go see it, well, pre-inspections may have already occurred, especially if it's a good property. And they're looking at offers like in the next day, maybe 2 days. And they're, you know, unwittingly putting themselves in a stress situation, and or then going, oh, well, never mind. And then you have to kind of go, well, are you serious about this or not? Because if you are serious about it, you got to put the due diligence in and the time and the attention and get on it right away. Even if you work a regular Monday through Friday, get out that afternoon. We're in the time of year, you know, we still are adding on daylight every day, you know, 1 to 2 minutes. So it's going to be like this for a while. So if you're going to take advantage of your after hours, this is the time to do it. Okay. You don't want to wait till the weekend, because again, we don't have open houses. You know, they don't have any of the traditional stuff going on right now. You have to book with your agent. So, you know, get it in line, get the response out there right away so they can help you get what it is, you know, you're trying to do. Okay.
And agents will not show you a house if you are not pre-approved. You know, no
yeah.
agent.
Yeah, we actually just went through that and made a very conscious choice, even in our team, that unless you have been pre-approved, we won't take you out. Because with all of the protocols that are necessary, with all of the concerns, we're at 110,000 deaths, and there's an estimate that it could go to 350 on COVID. So we don't want to be part of the problem, and we want to keep our industry moving forward, and we want to stay healthy ourselves. We want our family, our friends, and the rest of our customers to be healthy. So it's about having respect for everybody inside the process. And that seller and the listing agent are going to be expecting that to begin with. So it's not just about where we're coming from. We're trying to meet what the obligations are of the industry, and so that we can also stay open, because we know we're a big part of the economy as well. So if you want to see more problems, you know, just throw your hands up and not give a crap. But, you know, if you want to be like that, get a different agent, because that's not who we want to work with, just to be frank. So, you know, we want good, responsible people who are paying attention. So, and in return, we're going to give amazing service and amazing results. So anyway, okay. All right. So if anyone, again, if you have any questions, Reba at teamreba.com, 206-910-3429. Eric?
Eric Aasness, Eric at ericismybanker.com, 206-915-3742.
Okay, get to your 145 and I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.